Hey everyone, Vanessa here, alcoholic. My sobriety date's October 8th, 2017. If you are sober, I'd love to hear what your sobriety date is. Go ahead and leave it in the comments. Today, I'm going to continue reading from Keep It Simple, Daily Meditations for 12-Step Beginnings and Renewal. I can never see actually if it focuses or not, but I'm going to be reading December 7th reading today. And again, December is all about the 12th step and helping others and carrying the message. So I'm going to read the reading. I'm going to share some of my reflections on it. And then I encourage you to write down your own comments, your own reflections, and take this to prayer and meditation. And tell me about how it's impacting your life and how it resonates or doesn't resonate for you if you are on a recovery journey. You don't even have to be practicing if you're not an alcoholic. You just don't even have to be practicing sobriety to get something out of these readings, honestly. But you let me know. Okay. December 7th, God divided people into individuals so that they might help each other. Michael Raubert. Service is a word we hear in our recovery program. Service means work we do for others. It's the backbone of our program. The reason is simple. Service to our higher power and to others breaks down our wanting to be self-centered. Service brings us back into the world. We really are part of the group when we pitch in to make coffee, set up chairs, or talk in meetings. We really feel like part of the family when we run errands and help with meals and housework. We really connect with our higher power when we pray. Use me today to help others. With service, we feel less alone and we become less self-centered. Prayer for the day. Higher power, help me to be of service to you and others. Show me what is needed. Action for the day. Today will be a service day. I'll look for where my skills are needed. I'll see how valued I am. I'll give to others, knowing that I too will receive. All right. So I do feel that service to others saved my life. And I said this in another video, but basically it's not just the act of service or the act of giving, but the heart in which I give or in the heart in which I serve, right? And I'll tell you that it's pretty much 50-50 if I'm being 100% honest. Sometimes I am still giving out of people pleasing or out of fear or out of maybe they'll like me if I do this, or I know I'll look good if I do this. And then sometimes it really is just like, I know that this is something that I would want to be helped with. Let me see if I can help. Or like this person is clearly struggling. I want to be there for them. It sometimes just comes as I've done things in the past I didn't think were necessarily helpful. I just thought that they should be done. People were like, you have no idea how helpful that is. However, and I'm not saying that to say like, oh, I'm such a good person. I'm saying that to actually reflect the opposite, which is that I can be a very selfish person in my giving and in my service. Because if I am giving in order with the expectation that I will receive a certain reputation or a certain um, status, or like if I'm giving in order to only receive, then that is coming from it's a manipulation. I'm wanting to control the way that you perceive me, and that's not really genuine or pure, right, in my intention. However, I guess there is a third way to help people, and that is just and this is what most of my sobriety has been, it's out of an act of fucking desperation. And excuse my language if that's offensive to you, but when I say fucking desperation, I genuinely, to the core of my soul, mean it. The majority of my giving or service to others has come as a result of being so stuck in my own damn head that I am just out of touch with reality. Like I can spin stories, I can make the smallest inconvenience and create a narrative that the entire universe is out to get me. This is evidence and proof of it, you know? And so sometimes, and then I can just feel like the anxiety from like my toe tips to my fingertips to the top of my head. And I'm just like, I'm on edge and everything is an attack on me and my peace and my serenity. And don't people know that I'm trying to be, a saint or whatever, and it's just like, when I get to that state of agitation, I had an ex-boyfriend actually, and he told me he told me that this was before I admitted to being an alcoholic, and he told me this, that his father, rest in peace, had told him that, who was in recovery, by the way, his father had told him that if more than five people piss you off in a day, it's not them, it's you. And I was constantly getting pissed off at everyone all the time, and I thought it was everyone else's fault. And he very diplomatically told me, maybe it's not them, maybe it's you. And it's that kind of honesty that really still sticks with me today, because I'm like, okay, this person pissed me off. This person, okay, maybe now I hit more like three. Once I get to like three people pissing me off, I'm like, it's probably me actually. Um, and so all of that to say that I lost my train of thought. But basically, when I'm in that state of agitation, I know that I actually need to get out of myself. And the best way to get out of myself, and also when I'm in that state of agitation, I've been cut off. Like I've blocked myself off from this conscious contact with God, because I'm too stuck in my own anxieties and fears and self-centeredness, right? And so if I can't reach God through that, and sometimes I can't, right? The next best thing is to reach out to somebody else because they're still a reflection of God in them, right? And I love something that I heard early in my recovery was that my connection to God is a direct reflection of my connection to others, or that my how I relate to others is how I relate to God, and that my relationship with others is a direct reflection of my relationship with God. And so that's how I also know that, and everybody's pissing me off. It's not actually just those people, it's that I'm having a problem with God. That means that somewhere along the line, I'm 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 atheist in some part. Like if it's money stuff, then I'm basically believing that God is not going to cover my money worries or my money concerns. If it's relationship stuff or family stuff or work stuff or health stuff, and everyone is just pissing me off, and I'm just like, whatever, maybe all the doctors are pissing me off, or all my coworkers are pissing me off, and I feel like everyone is just out to get me. That's just reflecting back to me that I'm not trusting God in these situations, that I am expecting these situations to turn out in a specific way that I think that I know that they should be, and which I don't know all the things, right? Believe it or not. And so that means that I am trying to manipulate and manhandle. And what is my fear in that situation then, you know? Um, and where can I introduce God into that? But sometimes that's way too complex when I'm really pissed off, right? Or I'm too stressed out, or I'm really sad. If I'm that far gone, it's too hard to be like, okay, God, and literally sometimes it just seems like too much of a, or too out of touch to try to ask God for help, which is never the case, by the way. But I'm just being really, really real with you that sometimes it can feel that way. And if you've never felt that way, well, God bless you. You get an A+ star. I can struggle with it sometimes. And so the next best thing, like I said, is just to reach out to somebody. And they can always remind me of the goodness and the divinity that's in people, and also that's in me. That's why it's kind of a selfish thing still, because it's like, oh yeah, this is good. And you will always feel good helping somebody else. It kind of, again, just takes the focus off of yourself. So where can you find somebody to help, right? Sometimes it's just reaching out to someone who is going through a hard time, and picking up the phone and calling them, or even, yes, you could send them a text or shoot them a meme, I guess. But the actual act of just calling, and if they don't pick up, just leaving a voicemail and being like, hey, just calling to check on you, was thinking about you. I send texts that say, hey, just thinking about you at least like 3 or 4 times a week, just to people who I don't really talk to very often, because I genuinely just think about them and I'm just like, oh, I wonder how they're doing. And sometimes I'll reply back and be like, oh my gosh, bad time. Can we get on a call and can we chat soon? I'm like, yeah, of course. Sometimes it turns into like, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Want to get some coffee? I'm like, yes, of course. And it's like I'll see people. This is actually most of my socialization. I think there's only like three people who I see regularly, Most of the time, it's just me randomly reaching out to people, and people want to connect. You think that they don't want to hear from you. It's not about you at this point, it's about them. And that act of connecting with others is what ultimately ends up saving your life. And it ultimately ends up, don't know, potentially saving someone else, right? And it helps people, and those little connections that we can make with others, it strengthens our connection to our recovery and to God. And we remember that we were not created to do life alone. I am a huge fan of being alone. I love being with myself. I can just sit, like my dream is literally just to like have like a little like lake house somewhere near some mountains, maybe where I can like hike every once in a while. And maybe it's like an hour drive into like the next, like into like a large city or something. But for the most part, I just kind of like sit on my porch and just like rock back and forth, maybe read a book or just literally sit there and like stare at the lake or something, you know? Like that to me is so joyful. Like I do that kind of now, just like staring out my window, and look kind of like people watching and seeing all the cars. Like I just love doing that. And I can do that just for like an hour and time will just pass by. I'm just there with my thoughts or communing with God. I really enjoy that. I never feel alone. I feel God with me always. And just the love that exists in the world, I can feel that by myself when I'm in a good place, right? And so I love being alone. Even so, I will always be amplified in joy when I can connect with somebody else in a meaningful way, or even in a not super meaningful way. Maybe it's just I talk to my neighbors a lot. And there's an elevator in my building. And so, like, just having a quick chit chat and a quick, smile and hello and have a good night. It's like, it's just the people know who you are and so that they feel seen too. I talk to people who I see regularly, like on my walks or, um, whatever. It's just showing face, having people feel seen also helps you also feel seen, right? And even though I love being alone, when I do get to connect with people, I'm like, oh, this is so joyful, like this is what life is also. And then also my social battery gets drained to like zero, and then I don't see anyone for like another week. But all of that to say that again, I'm just going to read this again, and I just again want to hear from you. What do you think about this? How are you acting out in service? Do you have a commitment at your meeting? That's a perfect way to get started. And it is also, I guess there can be, and maybe I don't ever read a day ahead or read these before I sit down to record these, but perhaps, I always want to, especially for women, I want to give the kind of like disclosure of like there are also boundaries, right? Like you can't just always give money to the person who's constantly relapsing and calling you every time and being like, don't you want to help me? Don't you want to be of service? There's a difference. That's enabling, that's not service. Also, giving beyond or giving to the point, because then there did come a place in my own recovery, which I'm still kind of recovering from, which is really funny, where I was in such a place of desperation that I had to give to others to feel like safe in my sobriety almost, and in my own mental health and in my own spiritual world, except that I began to see that I was spending so much time giving that I wasn't actually getting the point. That I wasn't actually connecting to get closer to God. I was just distracting myself. And I know I've talked about this before, but I used to run like a community page for the San Diego comedy scene. And I really enjoyed it because I love to amplify the voices of the comics who are pretty much like not observed or not at all appreciated or cherished for their skills and the dedication that they put into what they do. And so I created this, and then I had so much fun, and I would go to shows and I would support some of my favorites, and I got really involved. And then people, I got such great feedback from people who so much appreciated that. And they especially appreciated apparently just like just the being seen, the being appreciated because they don't really get any of that. And that was all good and great, except a lot of the focus then also turned on me. And I was like, no, 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 this wasn't actually how that was supposed to be. And then I found more demands being put on me and the actions that I was taking and what was I doing and why wasn't I amplifying this person and why was I so stuck on this and why and why and why. And then I was like, okay, actually, this is to my detriment now. Now this is actually adding more stressors where there were none. And this was a project of joy and of service. And now it's become one of like, well, what am I getting out of it? I was literally getting nothing from it. And having that additional like emotional labor, that additional thing was just like, okay, this actually is to my detriment, and having to completely cut that off was a boundary that I had to put in. And so don't let it get to that point is the point of that story. Make sure that you understand that you're helping out of the goodness, but not to your detriment. And I say that primarily for women who are conditioned and programmed in this society to overgive and to always sacrifice their own needs. Unless it's for your own child that you've birthed or adopted in some way, I would strongly discourage against that. So I'm going to go through and read this reading one more time. But again, I want to hear about your experiences with service and if this resonates for you at all or not. December 7th, God divided people into individuals so that they might help each other. Michael Graubart. Service is a word we hear in our recovery program. Service means work we do for others. It is the backbone of our program. The reason is simple. Service to our higher power and to others breaks down our wanting to be self-centered. Service brings us back into the world. We really are part of the group when we pitch in to make coffee, set up chairs, or talk in meetings. We really feel like part of the family when we run errands and help with meals and housework. We really connect with our higher power when we pray. Use me today to help others. With service, we feel less alone and we become less self-centered. Prayer for the day. Higher power, help me to be of service to you and others. Show me what is needed. Action for the day. Today will be a service day. I'll look for where my skills are needed. I'll see how valued I am. I'll give to others, knowing that I too will receive. And maybe you won't receive specifically back from that person, but in the big picture of things, you will receive. All right. So, well, I love you and I hope that you're having a great day and that your week is going well and that you're enjoying these. If you're not, I will stop. Okay, bye.